AI agents solve this problem, and most retail investors are not connecting the dots on what it means for the demand side of this network. So here's the skeletal insight that you need to process right now. AI agents cannot, think about it. Just think about it. They can't open up bank accounts. They can't get verified through KYC. That's know your customer process. They don't have a social security card. I've said this before. They don't have a driver's license. So think about how, listen here, the traditional financial system has no path for them. None. They cannot go through traditional. But on the digital side, AI agents can open up crypto wallets in seconds. They can hold their own private keys. They can sign and broadcast transactions. They are the perfect users of permissionless crypto infrastructure that was built without any gatekeeping through the traditional system. Okay. Because that's what the traditional system requires. So stay with me, because this is where it gets very interesting with this. The mass onboarding problem was never going to be solved by retail humans coming into crypto one at a time. Not at all. Not at all. Right? You got to press through into truth. You got to understand like what this is really about. Okay. It's going to be solved by AI agents at scale. And I think so many people are missing out. Even when it comes to the XRPL, they're missing out on one of the biggest factors that is going to play a role in the supply and demand. Every AI agent that comes online over the next several years is a brand new wallet on a digital asset network conducting business on behalf of a human, a company, or another AI. And this, think about it, multiply that by hundreds of millions of AI agents operating across consumer applications, small business operations, enterprise workflows, and machine to machine transactions. And now you start to see the scale of the demand that's about to land on the network that's going to win this race. I know what I'm talking about. It's the foundation. Now, let me say this. Let me say this, and I want to make sure I don't think I missed it. Let me say this. Say I don't trust AI. I know a lot of people don't trust AI, right? But they're going to be operating whether you trust them or not. They're going to be operating. You are interacting with AI right now. If you even watching this, you're interacting with AI. There's an integration, that you're operating at. We just don't realize how much we are in contact with AI. For the most part, if you even go to a video, you get it summarized. Like everything is integrated with AI. If you go to, and like smart contracts, in a sense, everything is automated. You go to a PayPal, you hit you put your money in, and then it sends, and all of these automated processes that happen. We're really interacting with AI more than we even know. But now we need to talk about why, when I say like, hey, XRP is going to win this race. Well, why? Why is XRP specifically the rail that AI is going to pick? Okay. First of all, the choice is already being made. Why is being made by math and not hype? Okay. Because AI agents don't have no loyalty to a particular blockchain. They really don't. They don't feel things about Bitcoin or feel things about Ethereum like we do, because our money is tied to it. Okay. They don't have a bias. They don't feel things connected to XRP. They optimize for math. That's the whole point. When an AI agent needs to settle a transaction, it's going to pick the rail that is the cheapest, the fastest, and the most reliable every single time, with zero emotion attached. That's how AI agents work. Now, compare what happens on the XRP ledger versus what happens, for example, because I get some people saying, well, what about Ethereum? What about, and hey, it's the grandfather of smart contracts. So it has its place. Every one of them have their place. But we're talking about settling value. Okay. We talking about settling value. Okay. Settlement. Okay. So if you got a choice between, like XRP or Ethereum, when a lot of people ask, which is, like I say, the other network that's always mentioned first, there's other ones that's mentioned, but I'll give an example. So on the XRP ledger, an AI agent generates a wallet in seconds. The wallet is going to be functional immediately. It can send and receive XRP in under 4 seconds at a fraction of the cost, a fraction of a penny per transaction. No pre-funded requirements, no setup steps, no conversion of one token to another to make the wallet operational. That's it. Now, if you compare that, for example, to Ethereum, well, the AI agent generates a wallet and then the wallet exists. But to do anything with it, the AI agent is going to need gas, which is the term for the transaction fee paid in Ethereum. And then to get Ethereum, the agent has to acquire it from somewhere, usually by converting from a stable coin like a USDC. And then to get the stable coin, the agent needs another way to acquire crypto in the first place. And so even from the beginning, you start seeing that there's a lot of friction that's stacking up before the actual transaction even happens. OK, so then when the transaction does happen, it's going to take longer to settle. And of course, it's going to be more expensive. Y'all know Ethereum is more expensive. So an AI agent making a decision in real time, they again have no emotional attachment to either network. It's going to pick the path that delivers the result with the least friction. This is XRP. Every time you run that math, the answer is going to be the same. And also Bitcoin is going to lose that race too, for the same reason. Bitcoin transactions take minutes to settle. Bitcoin fees, they fluctuate very wildly with the network congestion. That's how it is. Bitcoin was never designed for high frequency machine to machine transaction. Bitcoin functions as digital gold. XRP functions as digital infrastructure for value movement. Okay, let's be clear what it does. It does very well. AI agents need that. Okay. So I want to explain it so that you guys understand why it's going to be utilized. And yeah, Canton and there's XRP is not the only. It's not the only one that's going to be utilized. You know, don't get me wrong. Like there's going to be other ones that's utilized for different reasons. But remember, we got to stay focused with. But this is what it does well. And AI agents, if they're transacting with each other, they need to transact with something fast and cheap that's going to settle in 4 seconds. Okay. So, and it's not, so you got to understand, we're going to keep it in its lane. And we're talking about the level of activity that's going to be needed for this. And it doesn't need humans. Now, the price point, okay, HBAR is going to be used also. It's got institutional adoption. I love HBAR. It doesn't do what XRP can do. I don't like it better than XRP, of course. But I haven't sold any because I'm not selling in the bear market. I'm just going to hold on and wait for the ride up. So, but price point, because I do want to address the price part where some people are just missing what's going to happen. So the price of, let me, and I stated a little bit of this on Monday, but let me explain. And so the more people, use these technologies, the more the value is there, And so, and remember, like you have to, the reason, like, for example, XRP, I explained this, like the rails, the infrastructure part, and the native coin, they're not the same thing. So the XRP and the XRPL are not the same thing. But if you need the XRP in order for XRPL to function. Okay, so it's like the gas in a car is what I describe it as. So that institutional adoption is what is going to drive the prices of these. Let me just help you understand the combination of these structural drivers, because I know a lot of people are like, well, what drives the demand? There's actually a few different things. The price of XRP moves up from a combination of drivers, structural drivers, I have to say, not just one thing. There is utility demand from XRP ledger transactions, because every transaction burns a little tiny amount of XRP as a fee. And as the volume scales, I know a lot of people say it's not much, but as the volume scales, the available supply shrinks. Even if it shrinks a little bit, it's still going in one direction, and that's down. And if the supply is going in one direction and demand is going in the other, that is going to be a situation that causes a supply and demand dynamics, not necessarily by itself. There is also bridge liquidity demand. And I'll talk more about all the different ways. Bridge liquidity demand, because when XRP is used as the settlement currency for cross-border payments, institutions have to acquire XRP and hold it on their books to keep the bridges operational. Then there is also institutional accumulation through ETFs, direct purchases, and corporate treasury positions. Okay, so there is the supply side there, because there's only 100 billion XRP that will ever exist, and a significant portion is locked in escrow, while long-term holders move their XRP off the exchanges into self-custody, which means the available liquid float, there's a difference between the available liquid float on the exchanges, is shrinking. That's why the price can move violently, because that float is shrinking. Now, if it was deep liquidity there, then it would take more to move the price, but it's not, y'all. It's shrinking, and it's at the lowest that it's been in like 6 years. So then, in addition to that, you also have regulatory catalysts, like, of course, the Clarity Act, that will potentially, if it passes, unlock billions in institutional capital sitting on the sidelines waiting for legal certainty. And to be honest, that move that it made when it went up to $1.50 was because of the passing 15-9. So that was, even that day, there was an ETF inflows. Actually, if you look at the data, when the Clarity Act passed, or when the first part passed, when it cleared, it still got to go to Senate, but y'all know what I'm saying. When they did the vote and you had the two Democrats that chimed in that week, if I'm not mistaken, there were net inflows of the ETFs for XRP, and there were net outflows of Bitcoin and Ethereum. So ultimately, what happened that week with the Clarity Act, when we got the good news, people actually left the ETFs for Bitcoin and ETF and put it into XRP ETF. They did. Go look for yourself. And then there is, so we got all of these different things, you know what I'm saying? The XRP is the fee, and then we got the liquidity demand, and then we got the institutional accumulation, and then we got people moving it off of the exchanges into the cold wallets and the self-custody and stuff. And then we got the Clarity Act. And then there is also the macro environment. And this is one that people are not paying attention to. Hear me out, because this is the one that's going to even allow gold to rise, silver to rise, and all assets pretty much, you know what I mean? Especially the ones outside the system. So the macro environment is also a trigger. And what do I mean when I say that? Well, I mean when the dollar loses purchasing power and capital rotates into hard assets, like I just talked about, and digital infrastructure that holds value, all the way to the point where people will refinance, they will borrow money. Why? Because it's cheap. Same thing they did with Japan. Borrow money. And what did they do? They put it into the stock market. They put it into crypto. They put it into all these different assets. So when the dollar weakens, the dollar loses purchasing power, money is cheap. Give me the money. And guess where I'm going to put it? When I'm smart money, I'm putting it into assets. What's the average person going to do? Dumb money? They going to go spend it. Oh, I got more money. Let me go spend it. And guess what? They ain't really getting much for it, because guess what? Like inflation. So what you just went to spend it on, it costs you probably 4 times that. You know, we're going to be sitting up, if they don't get this situation where, we're going to be buying $20 coffee. Okay. Like, so you're going to take that money, you're going to go buy it on $20 coffee, and then you're just going to lose it. But the smart money, they're going to borrow. You know what they're going to borrow? They're going to even borrow against a whole. That's what it's for. That's what your bank is for. Cash flow life policies. They're going to borrow money from their policy, and they're going to put it into silver, gold, and XRP and XLM and HBAR. Or Bitcoin. For some who want to put it into Bitcoin, they're going to put their money into these assets. So again, macro environments that we got to look at. I mean, the rising of bonds, even the yields rising. The yields are rising. That means the market value is decreasing. And now the people who holding the old bonds is not going to be as attractive, because now they got to give a new percentage. The interest is going up. They got to give a new percentage on the new bonds. So nobody going to even want to buy them old bonds anymore, because you got 2% and then somebody get off of 5%. What makes them want to buy your bond? So then I don't know what's going to happen with all of this, because I don't know if it's going to get to the point where, they buying back their own bonds, right? So it's a lot going on anyway. And I'll get some more of the super chats. But with all of that I just even mentioned, AI agents add a brand new on top of that. It's a layer on top of that. They add a brand new layer of demand on top of every single one of those existing drivers that I just talked about. So every AI agent that comes online is a new wallet on the XRP ledger that's generating, again, its own transaction volume, requiring its own settlement liquidity, and it's burning its own micro fees. So now multiply that by the scale that we're about to see. And man, you have a demand layer that, just think about, this demand didn't exist the previous crypto cycle. I don't know how we can compare this to the last crypto cycle. We're not going to be, we didn't have that. We're not going to have the AI agents and all of that. The next couple of years, them AI agents going to be transacting with each other. Next, I'll say 2 to 5 years, right? So the repricing of XRP is not going to be probably driven by just one factor. It's driven by like 5 to 6 factors compounding right on top of each other, while brand new AI agent demand is in addition to that. Okay. So we got to understand, they always do that. Goldman Sachs, they liquidated. A lot of them will liquidate their ETFs. I mean, you got Goldman Sachs liquidating their ETFs. Then you got the largest bank in Italy, buying a large amount of ETFs. So, and quite frankly, I don't know for sure. I can't tell you 100%, but I think people are getting positioned in cash as well, because, the thing about the stock market, the market can stay irrational longer than we can stay rational. Okay. So things could collapse tomorrow, or it could collapse a year from now. Okay. And you got people like Warren Buffett that's sitting on cash that got out the market. They don't care about time. They're not trying to time the top or the bottom. They see it's a crack. It's broken. Something ain't right. Yields are going up. Why is that? Because probably they're demanding for it. People are demanding, I want to get paid more for these bonds. So not a lot of people are talking about it, but I think passkeys are going to play a part in crypto adoption as well. That's a good addition. That definitely is. So, and that just adds on the stack of everything else that we've been talking about. I love when you guys chime in. So, because you guys add to the conversation and add even more things that people are not talking about. And there's probably 10 other things that we haven't even talked about. It's like you have to sit back and think. And it's like, yeah, you know what? This is going to happen. And, they're building this like the traditional system can't accommodate AI agents, and they're moving at the speed of light. Y'all, Meta they laid off 7,000 workers. They say that's 10% of their workers. Why? To invest in AI agents. They just laid off 10% of their employees. 7,000 people lost a job because they want to focus on AI agents. It's happening. And what do you think them AI agents going to do? Sit around and get their nails done? No, that's not what they do. So we got a lot going on. And, when you understand the full driver stack of this, you're going to start to see, while most XRP holders they're positioned incorrectly for the move that's coming. They really are. Somebody just said taxes. A lot of people, they own their asset. They're watching the demand build. They're watching, for this repricing event. But almost all of them are still going to lose money because they don't have a game plan. Most people are just going to wake up one day, look at their portfolio. And I don't know if it'll be like one day. I'm not, just understand what I'm saying. I'm being metaphoric right now. I'm using metaphors. They're looking at their, and it's like, oh my God, I got all this, they're not gonna know what to do. So that decision, that they don't get a game plan in place, it's going to work against them when the repricing happens. Why? Taxes. Most people going to give all their money away to taxes. And like I said, the bigger the move, the bigger the tax bill. Also, if you want a custom plan for your situation to understand how to build out your financial blueprint and get real clear on your structure, that is what my one-on-one clarity calls are for. We're going to map out exactly where you are and what you need to happen to organize your life and your finances for generational wealth. You should know how to properly protect what you're building, so we're going to help you to do this when you reach out. And then my coaching community is open for ongoing weekly support, and man, a room full of people that's just building together. And I can tell you, everyone there is building out a plan uniquely designed for themselves with resources, tools that they need. I'm coaching them every step of the way. Both links are in the description. But also, if you don't have your cold wallet, make sure you get that as well. Let me just tell y'all, one of the greatest things I've done for myself over the years. And so you're getting what I've done for myself all the years, because I am my greatest asset. And sometimes people don't think they're valuable enough to spend that much money on themselves. Yeah, you'll spend that much money on rent because you think a house is more valuable than you, but I disagree. And that's why I have spent $50,000 on coaching, because I am the most valuable asset there is. And any wealthy individual who has entered into success will tell you how much money they spend on coaching. It's one of their largest bills, because we understand the secret to success. Now, you may not understand it because you undervalue your importance in a place where you don't want to invest in yourself and you think it's too high. But I'm not that. I don't look at myself as a price being too high for me to invest in. And you also got to compare it to what? Too high for what? If somebody come to you and say, this house is too expensive, against what? Expensive against what? Okay. So you have to also measure that. And I think it's time to just think bigger, and I always tell my kids that I never tell them this is too expensive or anything. I always, when you're thinking wealth, when you have a wealth mindset, you're thinking not like this is too much. How can I get access to How can I get access to this? So if something I feel like that I need is too above my budget, and I really feel like the investment is there, my brain is not going to, oh, that's too much. I already decreased my empowerment. I'm not going to be creative enough to make any room to develop any cash flow or resources or anything. I've shut everything down. But now it's just like when I wanted to buy my daughter. I have a daughter. She's not my blood daughter, but she's been with me since she was 14, and I took care of her, and she's lived with us. She moved out recently because, she older now. She wanted her own place, but she lived with us for 15 years. And I remember wanting to get her a car, and I didn't have access to the money. And my mind went into, I want to get my daughter a car. Okay. She was 25 years old, and I wanted to get her a car for her 25th birthday. And my mind had to go into, and I get to the super chat, how can I create income to be able to invest and get her this car? Right. And so my mind started to open up. Okay. But when you shut it down because something too expensive, and you just all of a sudden, you're not going to have creativity and empowerment to be able to find the solutions. You're not going to find the solutions by focusing on the problem, which the problem for you is it's too expensive. You're not going to find a solution like that. You find a solution by focusing on what it is that you desire and you want. Now, that doesn't mean that's for anything. This is just a principle. That's not for my coaching program or anything like that. That's just a principle that you guys need to shift your mindset. Wealth is in your mind. That's it. It's not in your resource. $1,400, $2,000, $10,000, $50,000. It's not a lot of money, because if it's here. Okay. You got to develop that here. Okay. So I want you all to think a little differently about yourselves and what you're worth. Okay. So I had to counteract that, right? Because, hey, if you say I don't want everybody to think like that. That is not the mindset that I want you to. If there is something that you need in your life, and it don't have to be me or the next person. If there is something that you need that you feel like is valuable, do not focus on what you can't have. You focus on how you're going to get what you want. And that's the way we do life. That's how we win, y'all. All right. That's what it is. It's mindset. And we got to elevate. It's 2026. Thank you so much, Antoine Cooper. I appreciate this. I just wanted to give y'all just a little encouragement and inspiration on that, because I know and listen, budget, you know what I'm saying? Like, you spend a lot of, people talk about a coaching program costing so much, and they sure enough gonna be at that Chris Brown concert. They sure enough gonna be at that Usher concert. They sure enough gonna fly out somewhere, buy some new clothes, spend some money, buy a hotel, and all this other nonsense that ain't gonna do nothing for you. It's not gonna do anything. It's a liability. So y'all got to start thinking different about this. I see people with their eyelashes done, they nails done, their hair done, everything all sweet and fancy. But then when it's time to invest in yourself, oh, that's too expensive. No, come on, y'all. We got to do better. Put your money in the right place. It doesn't, I'm not telling you where to put your money, but just put it in somewhere that's going to grow and elevate you. Okay.